Hello and welcome to today's travel segment. We're here to visit the cradle of mankind. For the past few months, Ethiopia has been making headlines across the globe for all the right reasons. The country has been making great strides in turning a new chapter, from its relations with neighbouring country Eritrea to solving its internal squabbles. 2018 is a promising year for the country indeed. With this in hand, we focus in the country's tourism sector. Ethiopia is working towards enhancing its hospitality industry capacity as well as welcome more foreign tourists. The Eastern African nation earned $3.5 billion from tourism in the recently ended fiscal year, according to the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. This revenue was generated from nearly 1 million tourists during the time period. Just 2 months ago, Ethiopia started issuing online visas to tourists from around the world and other categories of visitors coming into the country. The move, coupled with a relaxed visa regime, will enhance the country's openness and also entrench the leading reputation of its national carrier, Ethiopian Airlines. So why visit Ethiopia, one may ask? The sights, the scenery, the culture are already there. Ethiopia's ancient Orthodox Christianity has endowed the nation with thousands of churches and monasteries, some of them enshrined as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The country has 9 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, destinations such as ancient historical places, national parks, Semian Mountains, and Tigray Highlands, water-based Tana monasteries, and others are the leading hotspots for the country. We were able to get a hold of Julien Garcier, the managing director at Sagachi Research, a market research and market intelligence firm dedicated to African markets. Julien highlighted what Ethiopia's tourism earnings means for the economy. Take a listen.
So this is great news for the Ethiopian economy. The $3.5 billion right, is a big number. It's a very big number. It also means that it brings a lot of US dollars to the Ethiopian economy, which is currently in dire need of this US dollars, right, to grow the economy and to be able to import US dollar goods. So this is great news.
As mentioned earlier, Ethiopia has been working towards enhancing its hospitality industry capacity and welcome more foreign tourists. Julien had this to say on what other strategies the government can undertake to boost the nation's gain from the untapped tourism industry. Take a listen.
I think what the government is doing in terms of growing the airline, so the first step growing the airline, I think, is a great move, right? So more and more flights and direct destinations are being served by Ethiopian Airlines directly on a day-to-day basis. So this is a great news. It means the country is more connected to the world, and which means it's easier for the tourists to come to the country. The second thing where the government is also investing, and which is good news, is you obviously need to develop the infrastructure to allow the tourists to move around. So it means the air infrastructure, so the domestic flights, but also the road infrastructure, making sure there is more roads, more trains, so that the tourists can move around and visit the different sites of the country. The last piece is obviously making sure that a hotel and restaurant infrastructure is being developed.
Well, the Ministry of Culture and Tourism recently blamed the lack of sufficient infrastructure and low service delivery as major challenges that have hindered visitor numbers, also highlighted by Julien. Nevertheless, can Ethiopia become the next tourist hotspot in Africa? This is what Julien had to say on the matter.
I'm not sure we could call it the next hotspot. Just the natural wonders or the cultural wonders of Ethiopia make it such that it's an attraction. Does it have the capability to attract as many tourists as other neighboring countries, take Kenya, Tanzania? I'm not sure, right? Because the tourism in Kenya and Tanzania is much more balanced between the safari and the coast. In Ethiopia, the balance is obviously very different, right? So the type of tourism in Ethiopia will always be maybe a bit more sophisticated and a bit more cultural and historical. And so the government will invest, the tourists will come, but yet I think the type of competition versus the other African countries is very different.
Meanwhile, national carrier Ethiopian Airlines has announced rolled out stopover packages without any additional airfare that cater for all leisure needs with a view to promote tourism in the country. This is also expected to encourage passengers to visit historical and tourism sites in Ethiopia and return to the airport to continue flights to their final destinations. Ethiopia Airlines said the stopover packages are easily accessible on its website and will pop up as an option when passengers book flights transiting through Addis Ababa or can directly be accessed at Ethiopian holiday websites. We have to wrap up things, but before I bid goodbye, I finish off the segment with 3 of many fun facts about Ethiopia. The first is that the country fought against the scramble for Africa and is one of the 2 countries not colonized. Second, several archaeological findings in Ethiopia's Afar region go quite some way in suggesting that the country may be where we all started from, Lucy, that is. Lastly, Ethiopia is said to be the birthplace of the Rastafarian movement. If you thought it was Jamaica, well, now you know. That is all for me on this week's travel segment. Till next time, do enjoy the rest of your viewing.